Medical aid credits may soon come to an end once the NHI Bill is implemented. According to the Health Department, of the credit will be fed into the National Health Insurance Fund. The aim of the bill is to fund universal healthcare, but there are concerns about its functionality. So how exactly will this impact medical aid holders? Let's unpack the story further this morning. Tanya Tosen is with Tax Consulting SA. It's great to talk to you, Tanya. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. I mean, if indeed this does go ahead, it's going to be a big blow for households who depend on those credits.
Absolutely, Michelle. We already have South Africans suffering badly from a tough economy and strain on their disposable income. And this is going to impact every South African, and it's actually punishing your working force mainly. The intention, NHI was actually saying, it's mainly to impact the wealthy, but ultimately it's that working force who's going to be heavily hit with this proposal on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the average South African household gets about 14,500 in these medical aid credits a year, right? An individual would get just over 4,000 Rand in these annual credits. Look, the point of the story, Tanya, is that there's very little clarity about how NHI is going to be funded. But one thing that is clear is that it's going to be by taxpayers, and this is one of the ways.
Absolutely. And I think the concern we have on the table is that this is a proposal that NHI put on the table. Usually these type of considerations are provided by Treasury, which are carefully crafted and considered. And you're not seeing this. And that impact on each individual who has medical aid, it's not, in my view, the wealthy who will be heavily hit. It's your working class South Africans. Michelle, also to add, people just think it's just working people, but also impact the pensioners. Pensioners get anyone who gets an income, and that is taxable on assessment or either via a payroll system, will be hit because those credits disappear, which ultimately means your pay-as-you-earn liability goes up or your tax liability goes up, and that impacts your disposable income.
So shall we take a look at whether there are any upshots to this, Tanya? Insofar as employees who belong to a registered medical aid scheme, is there a scenario where this might actually reduce your pay-as-you-earn contribution, and might you be walking away with a bit more money every month?
I can't see that happening. Unfortunately, the reality is SARS is not making budget. The economy is taking strain. We hear this constantly. And unfortunately, it means South Africans are going to have to tighten their belts yet again.
Sure.
And with already a strained economy and workforce, I don't know where South Africans are going to find that money. The reality as well, to add to it, Michelle, our medical aid increases quite significantly every year. If you look at medical aid increases, it's sometimes double-digit figures.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that individuals are starting to downgrade their medical aid plans. Even Discovery has said, their most popular plan is Classic Saver, where a lot more people used to be on Classic Comprehensive. You've seen that trend. But ultimately, it's going to put even more pressure where employees might downgrade further or possibly cancel. So also this is going to impact the medical aid industry significantly.
Yeah. You talk about where South Africans are going to find that extra, we talk about tightening your belt. There are no more holes on the belt buckle for you to be tightening, right?
Absolutely.
Middle-class South Africans who have a bond, a car loan, perhaps they have a personal loan, some store accounts, they're paying, according to the information that you've sent us, over 5,000 Rand more insofar as loan repayments are concerned every single month, right? They're going to have to earn, to find that 5,500 Rand, they're going to have to earn in excess of almost 9,000 Rand extra every month. And we know that that is not what salaries are doing. It's certainly not over the past few years.
Absolutely. COVID's taken a massive knock to all employees. We've seen the increased trends being very minimal or not at all in a lot of industries. So the question comes down to where are those South Africans going to find this money? We can't pick it off trees, unfortunately. And it's a great concern when people start cutting these insurances, which are actually vital to every South African in an emergency situation, from employers, from a governance perspective. There's a lot of things that will have to be viewed on the table. And this is really going to have a massive impact. I mean, ultimately, it's bread and milk money, even for your average South African.
Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about where South Africans were going to get that extra bit of money to make their loan repayments, these medical aid credits would have been one place where they find that extra bit of cash every year, right? So, Tanya, you say that NHI has put this on the table. Does it mean, given the impact on not only middle-class individuals, and we'll get to who's actually paying the bulk of this pain, right, in just a moment, but it's not only down to middle-class individuals, but medical aid schemes themselves. You talk about Discovery, saying that people are going down to cheaper plans. Classic Comprehensive now becomes Classic Saver, for an example. Is Discovery and other medical aid schemes as well, is that how we fight against this proposal which has been put on the table by NHI?
It's a good question, Michelle. I think it's possibly something to consider, that medical aids actually pull their weight together to challenge NHI. I know this has just been as a proposal put on the table, and NHI's actually indicated that South Africans should have expected this long time ago. But ultimately, with the economy being so strained and employees suffering so badly, that extra couple of R100 is really going to knock every individual. And I think, the medical aid industries have a lot of pull. So I would imagine that I would encourage them to actually also challenge some of these decisions.
Yeah.
Michelle, also just to add, those individuals who were just above that tax threshold and might have been paying minimal tax are now going to potentially also have a higher tax bill. So, there's also a knock-on effect, and that's why I said this hasn't been carefully considered. It actually impacts the lower income earners harder than your higher income earners.
Sure. A massive impact across the board. Of course, it hurts a lot more for those of us in lower income brackets, Tanya. So it's a proposal on the table at this point, right? At which stage? At which stage is this going to be a serious concern?
I think it already is. The fact that NHI has already tabled this and said we should have been expecting this. Now it's just a matter of it being promulgated and gazetted by Treasury. I'm hoping sanity will prevail, and we do have some legroom still left, or an opportunity to challenge this, because ultimately it's going to impact every single South African on a medical aid scheme.
Yeah, and it just doesn't feel right that a massive decision like this can just be made on a whim without any consultation with the people who will be impacted.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there are, discussions that this is against our constitution as well. It's almost like the e-tolls, where, you just don't want things as a surprise being put on the table. There should be a proper consultation or planning process where it just feels like we're being bombarded with a decision that's almost already taken.
Yeah, a decision that's almost snuck in through the back door, right? Certainly not a discussion that is far from over. It's nowhere near over, is what I mean to say. We need to bring medical aids into the discussion, get you a sense as well of how they plan to respond to this proposal that's been put on the table. Tanya Tosen, let me thank you for your time this morning. Tanya is a Tax and Remuneration Specialist at Tax Consulting SA.